Next session, recent trends in survey, penalty and prosecution under income tax. We have CA KR Pradeep sir. I request him to come on to the dais. I request Vinayak sir to come up on the dais and hand over a floral bouquet. I would like to take the privilege in introducing Mr. KR Pradeep, who is a graduate in business management, a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. His practice as a chartered accountant for 33 years and presently practicing as an advocate. He has secured 10th rank in Bachelor of Business Management, 22nd rank in CA Inter and 8th rank in CA Final. Secured the President's Facilitation for scoring 100 on 100 in Advanced Accountancy in Finals, which is unbroken to date, and he has represented India in the World Moot Court competition held at New York and secured second prize for the country. He is a member of the Supreme Court Bar Association, past president of Bangalore Income Tax Appellate Tribunal Bar Association, past chairman of Infrastructure Committee of FKCCI, and also the member and office bearer of many NGO, trusts and charitable organizations. His practice includes litigation and advisory in tax-related matters. He regularly appears before the Supreme Court, High Courts, Income Tax Appellate Tribunals, and likewise. He has also dealt with litigation in practically full spectrum of issues of direct tax laws. He has done pioneering work in transfer pricing and has dealt extensively on the issues related to domestic and international tax, corporate taxation, search and seizure, survey, and specializes in the matter concerning direct taxes. He has also dealt with several issues that have resulted in multiple amendments and changes under the income tax. With this brief introduction, sir, I would like to hand over the dais to you.
President of the Bangalore branch of Superiors, and Prashant, who persuaded me to be here today and requested me to speak on this subject. I am really extremely happy and satisfied at the presentation what Prashant has done. I see the enormity of his study and almost to the point. My compliments to you, Prashant. But I always felt that you are still a young budding student, and seeing you evolved into such a full scale is really a happy sight. Before I proceed further, you must remember today, 26th of November, as a very historic day in the annals of modern India. That is the day the Constitution Committee, which was set up by the Constituent Assembly on 15th August 1947, we achieved the independence. The full-scale government came only after 26th January 1950, which we call it as Republic Day. The Constituent Assembly constituted what is known as Constitution Committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Ambedkar. There were 7 or 8 luminaries who presented the draft after a thorough discussion of 2.5 years. They presented a draft constitution to the Constituent Assembly, and that day is 26th November, now known as Constitution Day. I thought being a...
Today also is a tragic day for the country, 26/11.
Well, sir, let us celebrate first.
No. That we should also remember
Yes.
those people who sacrificed for them.
Yes, I will come to that. In fact, now that it's a grim reminder of what went.
We think only about money, chartered account. It's unfortunate. But we should also think about those who are actually have died for the country.
Yes, chartered accountants think money. I am an advocate.
How about that one?
Please do not think about money.
That's one unfortunate side of it, you know.
May I suggest let us stand up and offer a moment of
Yes.
prayer and mourning for the departed and those who suffered on 26th level. Thank you. I really thank you for reminding all of us our solemn duty to be there. Each one who departed on that day was a soldier of India who laid down his life, unfortunately, and needlessly, I would say, that they were butchered, unsuspecting civilians. Coming back to the theme of the day, 26th was the day on which the Constituent Assembly was presented with the draft constitution, what is known as the Constitution Day. As you can see, the preamble to the Constitution, this is not the original one because the two words were added later. We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. These are the cherishing principle. I will take another minute or two. This constitution is the longest and it was inspired and influenced by several other existing constitutions, American Constitution, Australian Constitution, French, English and so on and so forth. There is a saying that Indian Constitution adopted some of the best. The fact that it took more than 100 years until Abraham Lincoln came on the scene for equality to be given to all American citizens. Slavery was abolished and all citizens of America was treated equal more than a century later after they achieved their independence. Whereas in India, that became the starting point, which is what I would like to underscore. We are all children of the liberal constitution, but for the opportunity the constitution provided, I don't think any of us would have been educated so well or be here with so much of academic and other achievements. So that is why I hold Constitution of India as one of the most cherished and respected and revered document. If I may say, you look at the neighborhood of India, starting from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Burma, Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka. In any of these countries, there is a huge amount of unrest and civil, I would say, civil activity, and there is no political certainty or a political stability. I would only attribute to one, that none of them are able to produce a constitution which is acceptable to all. Whereas India, even today, there are many civil movements have taken place. Some are violent, some are peaceful, but everybody wants the right to be read under the constitution and not in substitution of the constitution. That is the beauty and the hallmark of Indian constitution. Coming to the subject today, recent trends, survey, penalty and prosecution. It's a very vast thing. I am redeemed by the beginning word, that a recent trend, so I don't have to deal with the overall. One of the most lasting, epoch-making recent trend is right to privacy. right to privacy was given a constitutional right. The journey right to privacy has travelled in India from a statutory right, just an obscure right, to a statutory right, and later on to a constitutional right, and today it is a fundamental right. The difference is statutory right can be amended by Parliament, and if you do not read the basic structure of the Constitution, every constitutional provision also can be amended by the Parliament, of course with a greater majority. What cannot be amended is the basic structure, which is fundamental right. In the Puttaswamy case, Honorable Supreme Court, a 9-member constitution, held the right to privacy as a fundamental right, which cannot even be tampered by the law made by the Parliament. And they read how to implement that. So it is one of the beautiful judgments. I would suggest that all of you to read that, because this is going to go into the jurisprudence. Why am I mentioning this as a trend? Because my friend Prashant mentioned number of judgments under the Income Tax Act relating to search, seizure, etc. The hallmark of that is MP Sharma, Seth Brothers, and so on and so forth. So the entire search survey is a serious intervention of your private space. Can anybody come to you when your right, individual right is guaranteed under the Constitution? Can somebody come and invade? Earlier the Supreme Court said it can be invaded with the authority of law. What is the extent of that invasion? In emergency, they said even habeas corpus is suspended. All fundamental rights are suspended. To what extent the authority in the garb of law can they come to your house or office or your own self? I would say the right to privacy itself has travelled from a premises to a person. When I say premises, initially in the Australian concept was that your house is your own castle, impregnable. All the boot of the king cannot penetrate the impregnable fortress which is your home. However fragile the home may be, but still even king cannot violate that. So the right to privacy was read with the premises. And today right to privacy is also given to the speech, to what you hear and what you speak through phone, your instrument, etc. Is that inviolable? So this is what the Supreme Court dealt and said they have taken the right to privacy from that of a property and premises to the person. The moment it is person, dignity of life and liberty is guaranteed under the Constitution. So what is life? Mere existence is life? Or to live with the dignity and reputation? For a chartered accountant or an advocate, reputation is his life. A chartered accountant without a correct reputation has a virtual civil death, because nobody will believe you and what you say doesn't carry weight. So the reputation, living a reputed life itself, they read it as part of life. And right to privacy was taken as an ingredient of reputation and dignity to live. A dignity to live was compared to a difference. What is the difference between a life of an animal and life of a man? They said it is only the dignity. And it is to that extent. Why it becomes relevant? Because the earlier decisions of the Supreme Court, wherein they said legality or illegality of search is irrelevant, whatever they recover during the search is available for assessment, and the liability remains the same, dehearts the legality of the search. That was the law. In my humble submission, after this decision of Puttaswamy by the Supreme Court, this position changes. In fact, the two decisions of the Supreme Court which Supreme Court had relied on earlier decision under what is known as idiom of Jabalpur and Karak Singh. Both were reversed, and these are the two decisions the Supreme Court had relied on under section 132 to say, to give a liberal rope to the department and to say any search is okay. You have to have a search, but if it is illegal, doesn't matter. So such attitude has undergone a change. Today the search has to have a substantive force. But I must also say, after the Puttaswamy judgment, no one has really sought for a review of the earlier decisions of the Supreme Court, which is still quoted to justify their action. However, I am also happy to say, we have taken in number of cases, including in Karnataka High Court, wherein Honorable High Court, as an interim order, has directed the department to produce all the search records. Why did they do that? Because under 153A and 132, if you read, the moment there is a search, 6 years assessment can be reopened, and unless it is a case of an abatement, you have interest penalty and so many other consequences visiting upon you, your return abates. All this can be summed into a simple concept known as there is a civil and civil consequences arising out of a search. When there is a civil and civil consequences arising out of a search, a right to opportunity is a must. Under 132, they brought an amendment. They said such records cannot be summoned by any authority or a tribunal. So they put a lid that nobody can look into this. But what they omitted was, they did not say court. So when I file an appeal under 260A, before I go to 260A to file an appeal before the High Court, what happens is that there is an assessment. At the assessment I have asked, why did you issue a notice under 153A? Says there is a search. I am asking the assessing officer, is the search valid? Under 132(1) ABC, have you satisfied? Have you satisfied before issuing a notice? Answer is, they don't give you. I ask for a records for examination because I end up paying higher tax, higher liability than the regular. If the search is illegal, then 153A is not possible. If the search is legal, then the earlier distinction of the Supreme Court, whether search is legal or illegal, it is immaterial, stands lay to dust because of this. Now, the moment there is a civil and civil consequences in the form of 153 and an extended liability, you are entitled for it. But they brought a blocking provision wherein they said nobody can call for it. So that means you are remediless right at the assessment, CAT appeals and the tribunal. The option to you is two. One, right at the beginning 153A notice can be challenged. If the AO says I will not be able to give you such records. The other one is take the usual route, 260A. You ask the tribunal to look into the records. The tribunal says I am not competent to, and that you go to the High Court and ask the High Court to examine, because even at that provision under 132, the court is an exception in that. So when it comes to examination of the such records, the court becomes the first authority. High Court becomes the first authority, first court of relief. So this is the one trend. The second trend, overall emanating. I am not going into very many specific provisions because trend is extremely important. What is the trend which is going on? The trend which is going on is the first words of the Constitution. Though it is written 75 years ago, we the people. We the people and the government, how much litigation do you want to have? We elect the government and government comes and litigates. This becomes a kind of a cliche. Well, private property and public property is where the adjudication takes place when it comes to litigation between government and the individual. An equitable distribution is how the litigation has to be understood. But nevertheless, if you are going to subject a citizen endlessly as though they are fighting a private litigation, that is where the line has to be drawn. When I saw a recent trend, for example, the most recent is a 148 amendments, 148A, giving you multiple rights even before a notice can be valid, notice can be served, is a trending direction. And number of circulars which have been issued. Now the circulars where they said above 50 lakhs tax liability, then no appeal against the order of the CAT, above 1 crore, no appeal against the order of the ITAT, above 2 crores liability, no appeal against the order of the High Court. So this reduced litigation by about 80%. So this is one trend where the litigation is being eschewed at the very beginning itself. The reason, what is the guiding? Is it some blind shot? Somebody got very inspired, one of those small spark, or is it a lasting thought? In one of my interaction, a personal interaction with the senior ideologues of this government, RSS and BJP, beautifully they explained. They said our view is the government should not unnecessarily litigate with the people. So this is the trend. I would even urge that if any of you notice some frivolous, interminable, very, what shall I say, no cost effective litigation, we should highlight this. Because under Income Tax Act or GST, I find this doing a wonderful this thing. I have put out on table indicating the number of prosecutions launched in the last 4 years. Page 31. You see, in financial year 17, under the Income Tax Act, number of prosecutions filed in court. This is the publicly available statistics. I don't know how many notices were issued. 1,252, conviction 16. FY 18, 4,527, conviction 75. FY 19, 3,512, conviction 105. This is all India statistic. That means if you see, in many years, not even one person is convicted per state per year. FY 20, 1,226, already there is a diminishing. 49 conviction. The lasting trend you will see only 173 in 21 and 16. Why this happened? There are 2-3 things which happened under the provisions of prosecution. One, they issued circulars in 2019 and again amended in 2022 for compounding. Smaller, bigger offences, they gave a facility of compounding. So you pay a fee and you are coming out. All of you are aware of, I don't want to go into the details because it's a very detailed circular. So this contributed for the reduction. There was also one more circular which they issued in 9th of September 2019, wherein they said prosecution is a criminal proceeding. Therefore, based upon evidence gathered, offence and crime as defined in the relevant provisions of the Act, offence has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond reasonable doubt, not just proving, it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. That is the litmus test, that is the yardstick, that is the benchmark in law, criminal law. Now, how many prosecutions are able to pass this test. This is the experience of the board. I am reading from the circular of the board. To ensure that only deserving cases get prosecuted, Central Board of Direct Taxes, in exercise of powers under section 119 of the Act, lays down the following criteria for launching prosecution in respect of the following categories of offences. Offence under 276B, failure to pay tax to the credit of central government, which was the most used section, DDS, there is a 5-day delay, there is a prosecution, it was going on. Now they have said, cases where non-payment of tax deducted at source is rupees 25 lakhs or below, and the delay in deposit is less than 60 days from the due date, shall not be processed for prosecution in normal circumstances. This is one. Failure to pay tax deducted at source. Then the second one is, most important is, willful attempt to evade tax. Case where the amount sought to be evaded or tax on underreported income is rupees 25 lakhs or below, shall not be processed for prosecution except with the previous administrative approval of collegium of 2 CCITs. Further, prosecution under this section, that is entire 276C, shall be launched only after confirmation of the order imposing penalty by the income tax appellate tribunal. That means earlier they used to, even before the courts had said that even before the assessment is framed, prosecution can be launched. Today they have put a complete lid. So what is the assessment? Appeal has to come to finality. Penalty has to be final by the tribunal. It is only then the launching will start. So today if you receive a notice for prosecution, please refer to this circular. What are all the things that you need to do when you receive a notice for prosecution? The first one is whether any offence is mentioned in the notice. I am using the word mentioned with emphasis. There have been any number of cases, as recently as yesterday. In Criminal Procedure Code, there is section 41 which talks about arrest of a person. Later on, Supreme Court, in a very detailed judgment, 9-page judgment, they said the circumstances under which an arrest can be made, and they virtually took away many circumstances under which an arrest can be made. Instead, they read extended definition to 41A, where there is a reasonable complaint made, there is a reasonable information available, there is a reasonable suspicion. Under these three circumstances, a person will not be arrested but can be called for investigation under the CRPC. These three, and Delhi High Court went a step further and they prescribed, because the police were issuing indiscriminate notices. While this is the test provided in law, when actually the notice came, it is to come in different. The Delhi High Court, in a landmark judgment, prescribed the format of the notice. They said what should notice contain. In fact, today when you get a police notice under 41A, it even says that if you do not do this, then only I will look at arrest after the permission from the magistrate. So such a huge protection has been given under that. Now yesterday, what is the case I am referring to? This I can quote because it is in the newspapers, not a private information. The BJP General Secretary, Mr. Santosh, was summoned by Telangana police for a so-called offence of trying to buy MLAs. Investigation was going on and section 41 notice was issued. The first allegation of the police of Telangana was that they could not serve the notice. Then the court gave a liberty, serve through WhatsApp, and because service is also extremely important. Any and every kind of service is not a service under law. So the WhatsApp or a mobile, you send it because the person may be traveling. And yesterday evening, Telangana High Court has given a stay against notice under 41A, because when they gave the notice, they did not say what they had, whether it is a case of a complaint or a reasonable suspicion or a credible information. These three, all the three or one of the three, the notice they did not strike off. So the principle which emerges is, if the notice is vague, non-specific, it is as good as discriminatory and arbitrary. We have in the Income Tax Act what we know as Manjunatha judgment, Karnataka High Court, later on upheld by the Supreme Court. Under section 271(1)(c), they said inaccurate particulars or concealment of particulars. In a given case, it cannot be both. What is inaccurate? Inaccurate particular comes when I furnish something and that is not accurate. Concealment comes when I don't furnish. So when they issue a routine mundane notice, then how are you expected to answer? Are you going to answer as concealed or inaccurate? And second lacuna in the notices were, when they say concealed, I can understand you are not provided. It can be a general statement. Most of the very smart officers, they strike out the one and let me come to inaccurate. They say you have furnished inaccurate particular. Which particular which I furnished, which is inaccurate? There are nowhere, any number of assessment orders you see. So can you get a notice, you have committed an offence under Indian Penal Code read with CRPC. I am issuing a notice. Is it enough? So this is another trend. Why this is a trend? Because now under 270A, underreporting and misreporting. In the case of underreporting and misreporting, just recently 443 idea, the Delhi High Court, in the case of Schneider Electric Southeast Asia Pte Limited, in 443 idea 186, they have said because the assessment order did not say whether it is a underreporting or misreporting, they struck down the notice. So this is what Manjunatha principle, without quoting Manjunatha, under 278, it has also been incorporated. Now other trend was what you will see, particularly when it comes to penalty. Let me just finish on the prosecution. When you receive a prosecution, all you have to see is whether the notice is proper, and also see whether you are coming under this exception of not launching, because many officers may not be aware 25 lakhs and above, or what is the stake. In every case, it has to be a entire assessment should have travelled to the finality, penalty should have travelled to the penalty, otherwise it is premature. A simple repair, that means the prosecution notice is premature and can be laid to rest. This is the first verification. Second, if you travel that, then the second limb is to see whether at all your client is inclined to avail compounding. And please go through the compounding circular. Two circulars are there, 2019 and 2022. So compounding is available both for cases filed and yet to be filed. This is the second verification that you have to do. The third one is, if you are not inclined to go for a compounding, or you are a such case, or you are covered under some other act, Prevention of Corruption Act, you are under forest produce, illegal mining, so on and so forth, predicated offences under PMLA, all these are there, then you are not covered under the compounding, then an opportunity has to be given. By whom? Section 279 mandates no prosecution can be launched except with the prior, somewhere they use the word approval, somewhere else they use the word sanction. The distinction between sanction and approval is there in law, but I am not going to deal with that because that's a subject matter. Extreme detail may not be of interest to you. So, before the process is, an offence is committed before whom? The offence is committed before the assessing officer. For some offences like return of income when it is filed, it is committed before the assessing officer who has a jurisdiction over your case. Can you have a plenary jurisdiction? Can any police station file a complaint against you? No. Today, that dilemma comes in faceless. In faceless, we do not know who is your assessing officer and where is he sitting. Why it becomes important? Because if the assessing officer, faceless officer, is not only faceless, he is also not known to you. See, faceless can be somebody whose face you cannot see. Another is somebody whom I do not know. So let us take the latter. If it is somebody whom I do not know, where he is sitting, let us say he is sitting in Dimapur and making your assessment in Damlur. Now, whose jurisdiction? Where have you committed the offence? When you uploaded the return or when you completed the assessment? That is a matter of jurisdiction. Why it becomes important? Because offence in Damlur comes to Karnataka High Court and the courts working under the supervision of Karnataka High Court like a district court, sessions court, etc. etc. Whereas if it is an offence in Dimapur, then it is Assam. So this is another area when it comes to faceless assessments where the prosecution is likely to be not yet tested, but these are likely to kind of come up. Jurisdiction, notice, service, these are all very essential ingredients of a valid proceeding. If any of these fail, that proceeding is not valid at all. It is what is known as non-est and void. That means it never started. So when a sanction under 279 comes, an assessing officer is supposed to make a complaint and seek permission from the commissioner or the principal chief commissioner. Give me sanction to lodge this complaint. In criminal law, there are two types, two processes. One is what is known as police report, which is a complaint, rather a FIR, first information report. It is by a police officer, investigation by a police officer, be it a summon or a warrant case, and then the process takes place before the court. Under the Income Tax Act, it is a complaint. When a complaint is filed, somewhat equal parlance is, it is equal to charge sheet. That means pre-charge sheet investigation, from FIR to charge sheet investigation is already done by the department in the form of assessment, etc. How much time? Okay. 10 minutes I'll include because this is a very vast subject. I'm only following the trends. If it is getting bored, you are getting bored, please raise your hand. I will change the subject. Maybe I'll go for a joke or something. So it becomes extremely important that it travels from, complaint is section 200 is equal to like a charge sheet. So the cognizance of the complaint is taken by the magistrate or a sessions judge only when he sees prima facie that there is a sanction under 279. So the officer makes a case before the commissioner who issues a sanction. Now there is a diversity of opinion, judicial opinion, whether at all an opportunity should be given to you by the assessing officer before he sends it to commissioner. Before a sanction is issued, whether an opportunity is to be given. Now there is a distinction as to what happens before the commissioner under 279, whether full principles of natural justice he has to follow or you have only got a right of hearing. The distinction is this: full principles of natural justice means whatever material he has got, whatever material he is going to peruse, he has to demonstrate, he has to give you a copy, plus he has to demonstrate application of mind. That application of mind, in his mind, we cannot presume. It has to be in whatever he writes. So that 279 sanction itself is open for a judicial review under 226 as a constitutional right, because 279 sanction is not appealable. So you can invoke the writ jurisdiction, or under section 482 of the criminal procedure, where the criminal court will sit in judgment to see whether there is a prima facie case. So right of hearing is not to be confused with full principles of natural justice. In a right of hearing, he says, come, have a cup of coffee. Are you fine? Okay, somebody has made a complaint. What do you want to say? I record and send you. This is right of hearing. This is not to say that the full spectrum. So there is a divergent opinion here. So once the sanction comes, then also you have a right to seek compounding. So when it goes before the court, so there are special safeguards. See, we are the assessees, income tax assessees are minority. Why I say minority? There is a constitutional provision. While Article 14 talks of equality before law and opportunity, elsewhere they talk about rights to minority. So these don't go well. I am not into that. When you say equality and minority, what does it mean? Where is the equality? If there is a special law for minority, all are equal, or minors are different, minority is different. So then it is not the moment you say minority, there is a majority. So the equality and minority is something which the court has to reconcile, constitution court, hopefully someday. So who is a minority? Religious minority, regional minority, whatever. Since no definition is there, I would like to call income tax payers as a minority. Why minority? Because out of the 130 crore people, there are only 2 crore who are filing returns, maybe 50 lakhs paying tax. Not only we are minority, but we are ultra minority. So, why this becomes essential? Because there are certain rights available. Anyway, I promised a joke, I have delivered one. So, when you go before the court, in the Income Tax Act, you cannot be tried before some traffic court or some some chiller magistrate or something like that. You are treated with a lot of dignity. You have to be tried before a first-class magistrate and a special court. In every state there is an economic offences court. And you are not going to be arraigned along with the pickpocketers or POSCO cases and also you will find a separate class of people who have committed economic offences in the view of the government. So why this becomes important? There are provisions under the Income Tax Act. How and which of the courts are special courts? And designated magistrates, whether they become first-class judicial magistrate. This is essential because the cognizance taken by anyone else is incorrect. Then at what stage this complaint has to be filed before this court? In Karnataka High Court, in the case of D.K. Shivakumar, quashed the complaint because the court was of the view the complaint has to be filed before a jurisdictional court first. Once the jurisdictional court decides there is a prima facie case and a cognizance is taken, for trial it has to be sent to the special court. What happened? The department filed the complaint before the special court, and consequently, Justice what's his name? He retired. I'm sorry, I just lost his name. Who prosecuted Jayalalitha also. He wrote a judgment saying that a trial has to be by a special court, cognizance by a regular court. So this also has to be seen. Then recently, in M. Sundaresan case, 55-page judgment, Supreme Court has said, they have virtually laid down the law on bail. Under the Income Tax Act, prosecution or a offence punishable less than 2 years is a summons case. More than 2 years is a warrant case. There is a list of cognizable offences and non-cognizable offences. Depending on this, your right to bail comes. Bail and bail conditions both. Because if you have a evasion of tax of 100 crore, and what is the way of bail to be, whether at all a bail to be granted. And one of the conditions for granting bail in a normal condition is whether the person has the potential of committing the same offence again. So if you are a business person carrying on business day to day, so you have all the potential to evade tax again. Not only again and again. So the bail becomes a challenge. Now in Sundaresan case, Supreme Court has laid down a law recently, this is a 2022 judgment, wherein they have said all offences less than 7 years, bail is a right. You appear and from morning to evening you will be there under the custody of the judge. Once he takes up the case, many a time the department says, I want to file objection, I will come tomorrow and all, but they grant an interim bail. So less than 7 years you can tell your wife, make biryani, I am coming back. So above 7 years, they have distinguished, but even there, under the Income Tax Act, I would say, your bail is more or less guaranteed. There are some special enactments, Black Money Act, etc. They have listed. Under those enactments, the Supreme Court has said, the bail becomes a discretion of the magistrate. The last one I will just say. My friend was, Prashant was dealing with statements. There are 4 types of statement which can be recorded under the Income Tax Act. Under section 131, it will be on oath. 132(4), it will be again on oath. 131, simple invitation, like a marriage invitation, he will send you. You go and he asks you a question and you answer. It will be on oath. 132(4), again on oath. During the course of search, the distinction in 132(4) is they record statement under 132(4) indiscriminately. 132(4) statement can be made only by a person against whom there is a warrant. One of my friend here was asking a question, a director made a statement and things like that. So he can verify that will not be a 132(4) statement. So if it is recorded under 132(4), at least it is not a 132(4) statement. What is the fate of it? That is a different question. Then the third is under 133A, subsection 3(2). Statement can be recorded at the time of survey. There the oath is not there. Then under 133A(5), when you are performing marriage and all, or housewarming ceremony or something, even a mayat, income tax can come and record a statement. But not on oath, but that as they say, it can be used as an evidence. So these are the 4 instances. What is the consequence of making an incorrect, false or a fraudulent statement? Under 272A, all 4 are treated equal for penalty, 10,000 rupees. So you can lie to the last of your teeth. It is not how many times you have told lies. It's a one penalty. It's a wholesale, full meal. Then under 277, for prosecution, statement on verification which is in the returns or any other returns that you file. Then there is also an account or statement which is later portion. The statement over there also is uniform in treating all the 4. So there is no distinction at all. So the statement of this so-called difference in words in these 4 different instances, when it comes to rigors of law, it is uniform. The last one I would like to say, under 292C, any material which is seized, impounded in survey, can be used against you in assessment and it has a presumptive value. What is the presumption? 2 presumptions only I will deal. One, if it is found in your possession and control, then it shall be presumed it belongs to you. Then the second one is, the contents of the same shall be presumed to be true. The third one is, if it is found to be in the handwriting of X, it shall belong to that person. Now let us take these 3 presumptions. Second one, I don't see much of a difference. Now in your possession, it belongs to you. If in your possession but it is not in your handwriting, then it belongs to person who writes. So now most of us, I don't think we have the habit of writing ourselves. We may employ an accountant. So, the law says it belongs to him. So, if you are holding and he writes, then two presumptions set in. One militating against the other. And second, what is the stage at which the presumption can be made? How do you establish it is in somebody's handwriting? The only process known to law is by making a reference to GEQD, that is a government examiner for question documents. Only one place in India, that is in Hyderabad. So they have to send that and examine it, and then only they can come to the conclusion that it is in handed. So let us take a case where it is in your possession but written by somebody else. Until GEQD process is over, you cannot say to who has written that. Now, can this material be used against you? Because one presumption is against the other presumption. With this, I would like to rest my case. Thank you.
We'll take up the question.
Any questions, please? All are angry for lunch.
We have 5 minutes.
Then, while Prashant said his boss is Shankar, in between Shankar and Prashant, I am there. So that question, which where the director and the investigation under the Companies Act, are you still interested in knowing? I don't think the person is there. You asked that. Okay. I'll just try to give my perspective. See, under the Income Tax Act, you said, when the investigation took place, you made a statement about gold, bullion, jewelry, entries and all. See, all this comes under section 68, 69, 69A, right? And what is the ingredient of that section? It is the income of the year. It is not the past year. So, investigation under Companies Act is only what balance sheet you have filed is fraud. When the law says it is the income of the year, is it not coming to your benefit? It is a yet to be filed balance sheet. So what investigation can you do?
The past 6 years, there are
Yes, sir. The moment you invoke 69, 69A, 68, two things you have to see. One, it is the income of the year, previous year or the financial year. The second one is why those sections are invoked. Because explanation you have offered, AO is not satisfied. There is no finding of fraud there.
Because in my case, what I'm trying to narrate is that my turnover is 100 rupees. My balance sheet is signed in the past years as well as the current one is 100 rupees. The director confessed is a 140 rupees. Say that I have a turnover of 40 rupees outside my books of account. It has been confessed in the statement.
See, the simple thing is, this confession and all is a very generic statement. Everything you have to see what has been written.
Evidence also.
No, evidence also. What the statement records. Suppose the director has said that to buy peace I am saying this. Or he says it is limited only for income tax.
The buy piece will be there at the head.
So then it is only to buy peace. Somebody held your nose and dragged you to the water. What can you say? Are you a regular swimmer? So, in the sense that has to be examined very carefully. You see, the rigors of law don't just set in for whims and fancies. Just because you made a statement something, consequences cannot come. There are a number of judgment in income tax which says, for example, recently one case came. A search took place, they found some foreign asset. Under 132, he gave a statement under 132(4) saying that I have an asset in Romania. They invoked black money provisions and nailed him on that statement. The High Court passed that notice saying that it is not a statement under Black Money Act. So, each one, the confession in a church is not valid in Tirupati. So, each God is different, each day is different.
In the case, there is a cascading effect under the several agencies.
You will have nuisance, but what I am telling is it's not an open and shut case.
So I have just a statement to make on what you said regarding this government should not be fighting as citizens. Unfortunately, we have been ruled over for 200 odd years by the British colonial forces, and they actually wanted to take everything out of the country, not just India, everywhere. And they needed their local population, but they were the undesirable elements as far as they were concerned.
Correct.
So, whenever they promulgated this law, starting with the Police Act of 1860, they treated all of us as undesirable, unwanted elements, but at the same time they needed us for getting their looting process done. This particular mindset is actually what has created all these problems. Where I worked abroad, I have seen how nicely the British guys deal with us when we were going to their embassies, and I worked with them also. But unfortunately in 47, the machine was handed over to a brown operator, the white man left.
I agree with you.
Thank
It
you.
is that is a travesty.
This is the root cause of most of these problems. And actually, I should say happy that in 2014 we got a Prime Minister who at least acknowledged the fact that we can self-certify our own certificate.
No, many things. You see, it is the moving needle. The trend is to ease. So I see two trends: the trend for use and trend for misuse. Trend for use have been loosened and empowerment is given to citizens, while the government is coming heavily on misuse. These are the two discernible trends I see.
Sir, one last question. Thank you for that enlightening words. What are the legal consequences of not attending to a summons?
I am not advocating, because as a citizen you are duty bound to. For a professional and as an assessee it is a little different. See, the immediate consequence is without reasonable cause. If you do not attend, then 10,000 rupees penalty can be levied. That is the only consequence that is available in law. Many a times the people do a cost benefit analysis. Because even the 10,000 rupees can be levied only with the prior approval of Joint Commissioner. So they will spend more than 10,000 rupees by the time they obtain the. One of the person in Calcutta where I was appearing in my those younger days, he said the fellow had a habit of not responding to any summons. So 5 summons were issued, he never went, and the assistant officer got angry and he issued a notice under 272A, and that also he did not attend. The penalty was levied. So at that time he gave the notice and 10,000 rupees penalty. So I filed a appeal, and our plea before the CA KR appeals was, while this person was sitting there in the chamber, the AO was not available. So then the CA KR appeal said, why don't you withdraw this appeal and pay this? This whole thing will take time. He said, no, my client has instructed me that we have to do. So how to find out that the AO was in fact there, assessee was not there? So then I said, you can examine the assessee. Similarly, allow me to examine the AO on both. Both of us have a right of cross-examination. So then you decide whether penalty is leviable or not. See, that's what I say, when it comes to actual, invoking something against you, the law has given many this thing, because it's all evidence-based. So AO cannot say, no, it is possible, many of them, they'll issue a notice, come at 11 o'clock, you go there, he is doing something else, you send a slip, and he doesn't even see. Then the peon come and say, he is busy, he has gone to meet additional, come tomorrow. This is a normal practice. So my suggestion to department is, instead of rushing to issue a penalty and all, just give a call and say, when can you come? And there are officers who do that. They even say that, okay, Monday you cannot come, please let me know in advance, and I will give you another convenient day. So then that is how you get the cooperation. After all, the statement is for cooperation, not to hold you, pin you down for a offence. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful session, sir. On behalf of Bangalore branch of ICI SISC, as a token of gratitude and respect, we would like to hand over a memento. I would definitely like to acknowledge presence of Venkatramani sir. I would request you to come up on the dais and but you can.
I'm honored indeed.
I know the time has come and we are hungry as well, so the food is arranged over the canopy. So we'll assemble back sharply at 2:30.